What The Simpsons has, which many other cartoons lack, is a vast array of recurring characters. Ned Flanders is one such character, with many episodes dedicated to him. I'm counting down the top 5 Ned Flanders episodes. At number 5, we have Viva Ned Flanders. At a car wash, Homer's outraged by how much he has to pay. Ned, however, gets a senior citizen's discount. Homer exposes him in church for deceiving the car wash, leading Ned to grudgingly admit that he's 60 years old. Upon being asked how he looks so good, he expresses that it's down to a life of doing nothing. Realizing he hasn't lived a day in his life, he goes to Homer for help, so the two go to Vegas. Ned emulates Homer's recklessness, and in the morning, with heavy hangovers, they realize that they each married one of the waitresses in the bar. They try to escape them, and because of this, are kicked out of the state. With Maude dying the following season, Ned never does face the consequences for this. Though not a complicated episode, it was still very funny. At number 4, we have When Flanders Failed. This is an absolute classic, when Flanders first opens his business, the Leftorium, a shop selling things designed specifically for left-handed people. Homer pulls a wishbone with Ned, and wishes that Flanders' store fails. He wins, and we see exactly this. Homer has many opportunities to recommend the store to lefties, but is too proud to. We see Ned really struggling and having to sell his possessions, so Homer gives in and finally spreads the word. People flock to the store and buy enough stuff to keep Ned afloat. It's refreshing to see one of the few moments where Homer actually does something nice for Flanders. At number 3, we have Home Sweet Home Diddly Dum Doodly. After a string of misunderstandings, Homer and Marge are deemed unfit parents, so have their 3 children taken away from them. Bart, Lisa and Maggie are told they're going to a foster home, which turns out to be just next door, at the Flanderses. Though Ned's incredibly nice, the kids aren't a fan of his overprotective, overly religious parenting. Homer and Marge finally complete a parenting class, allowing them to get their kids back, but upon going next door, they see that they've gone baptizing. They rush to the Springfield River, and in an attempt to save Bart from being baptized, Homer sacrifices himself, and Ned pours the water on him. They all conclude that they'd much rather be Simpsons than Flanderses. At number 2, we have Bart of Darkness. A sheer heatwave results in the Simpsons getting a pool in their garden. Unfortunately, Bart falls off the treehouse, so can't get any use out of it. While Lisa becomes Mrs. Popular, Bart becomes confined to his room, with nothing interesting but a telescope Lisa gave him. He isn't interested at first, but when he hears a scream from the Flanders house, he can't help but try to find out more. He catches Flanders burying something, and calling himself a murderer, so sends Lisa into his house to investigate. Flanders returns, brandishing an axe, so Bart goes to save her, only for there to be a completely logical explanation. Ned killed Maude's plant. This was a well-written episode, and a demonstration of when The Simpsons used to be great. Before I get to number 1, I have some honourable mentions, in case you're interested in seeing more of Flanders. In no particular order, we have Homer Loves Flanders, where Homer's clinginess drives Ned nuts. Alone Again Naturdiddly, the one where Maude dies. I'm Going to Praiseland, where Ned honours Maude's dream of a theme park. Boy Scouts in the Hood, where Bart, Homer, Ned and Rod get lost at sea. And Home Away from Homer, where Ned's driven away to a town that makes figurines, but when they insist he loses his moustache, he's forced to move back. At number 1, we have Hurricane Neddy. A hurricane strikes Springfield, and despite his precautions, Ned's house gets completely destroyed. With no insurance, they don't know what to do, so the residents of Springfield come together to rebuild it. Flanders is initially touched, but upon discovering how poor a job they did, he finally loses it. He verbally attacks everyone in sight, hops in his car, and drives himself to a mental facility. We find out that Ned's parents were hippies who refused to discipline him, so a doctor rectified his awful behaviour by spanking him. This worked so well that Ned became unable to express any kind of anger. It instead came out in nonsensical iddlies and diddlies. In the present day, they get the most aggravating person Flanders knows, Homer, to try and get Ned to release some anger. He doesn't give in until he eventually admits that he hates his parents. Cured, Flanders is released back into the public. Finally getting Flanders' backstory, this was a brilliant episode, as we can actually sympathise with him and not see him as a religious nutjob. I hope you enjoyed my list. Are there any episodes I've forgotten about? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe to let me know if this is the kind of content you want to see. And if you enjoy cartoons, definitely check out my other videos, as I make my own animations and would be so appreciative if you could help me kickstart what I love doing. In any case, thank you for watching.